Welcome to the Bookworm Duo, where we explore a variety of books. Let's get started. You've probably seen those perfectly curated Instagram accounts, right?
Oh, yeah, the ones where the kitchen is just, like, always spotless.
Exactly. The lighting is always that perfect golden hour, and the family looks like they just literally stepped out of a catalog.
Right. It's exhausting just looking at them.
It really is. And if you're like me, you've probably wondered what happens to that flawless aesthetic when a literal bomb goes off in their real life.
I mean, it's bound to happen eventually, you know?
Right. So today on our deep dive, we're extracting the core insights from Elin Hilderbrand's novel, The Five-Star Weekend. We're looking at, well, the anatomy of grief, really.
Yeah, and the illusion of internet perfection.
Exactly, and what happens when you try to color coordinate a tragedy.
It's just such a fascinating premise because it totally challenges our fundamental assumptions about mourning. I mean, society expects grief to be messy.
Right, like sweatpants and isolation.
Exactly. We expect the sweatpants, weeks of eating cereal straight out of the box. But what we're looking at today is a woman who attempts to weaponize nostalgia.
Weaponized nostalgia, I like that.
Yeah, and luxury to essentially out-organize her own emotional devastation. We're talking about the toxic side of internet fame, 25-year-old grudges, and the psychological concept of disenfranchised grief.
All wrapped up in the guise of a picture-perfect Nantucket getaway.
Exactly.
So let's look at the architect of this getaway, Hollis Shaw. Picture a woman who has essentially built an empire on making people feel safe.
Which is quite an undertaking.
Right. She started out as a true Nantucket local, like the daughter of a hardworking plumbing contractor, but she experiences this massive upward mobility.
Right, she marries the wealthy Harvard surgeon.
Yes, Matthew Madden, he's a cardiac surgeon. They move to the ultra-affluent suburbs of Wellesley, Massachusetts, and she just fully embraces this flawless high society life.
But it's during the pandemic that she really capitalizes on this persona, right?
Yeah, exactly. She starts a food blog called Hungry with Hollis.
Which, honestly, is a masterclass in timing and psychological fulfillment. I mean, she doesn't just post recipes.
What is she posting then?
She posts an antidote to global anxiety.
Oh, that's so true. Because she absolutely blows up over a very specific video. She makes a meatloaf sandwich.
But not just any meatloaf sandwich.
No, it's with homemade refrigerator pickles, served on freshly baked Japanese milk bread.
And it was, what, 4 sandwiches for $17?
Yeah, something like that. It goes immensely viral. And I want to pause on this sandwich because, well, it feels like a metaphor for her entire life. It's not just lunch, is it?
Not at all. If you deconstruct why that specific recipe made her an internet sensation, you find the exact psychological needs of her audience at that moment.
Because everyone was just trapped at home.
Right. The pandemic had stripped everyone of control. Making Japanese milk bread is incredibly time-intensive. It requires precision.
Yeah, you can't just throw it together.
Exactly. And it yields this soft, comforting result. It was aspirational comfort food. She was basically serving up this overarching, everything is going to be okay vibe to millions of followers.
Like a surrogate mother figure for the internet.
Totally. Offering a structural, step-by-step recipe for comfort.
But, the reality behind the camera is a completely different story. Fast forward to the morning of December 15th.
Right before the holidays.
Yeah, we get this incredibly domestic, festive scene. Just think of the most aggressively perfect holiday card you've ever received.
Oh, I can picture it.
Hollis is in tailored red plaid pajamas, baking cheddar tartlets. The kitchen is just dripping with Christmas garlands.
And Matthew comes downstairs.
Right, wearing a Vineyard Vines tie with Santas and speedboats and silver reindeer cufflinks. The material details here are suffocatingly perfect.
And they're acting as armor, honestly.
How do you mean?
Well, those reindeer cufflinks and the plaid pajamas, they're the physical manifestations of Hollis trying to keep chaos at bay. Because underneath the festive outfits, their marriage is fracturing.
Yeah, it's really falling apart. And it fractures over a scheduling conflict, which is so incredibly common.
Right, the trip to Europe.
Yes, Matthew has a flight to Germany for a cardiology conference in Leipzig. But he tells Hollis he's planning to stay in Europe to visit a mentor in Berlin.
Which means he's going to miss the party.
Completely miss their beloved annual holiday party. And this is a party she organizes single-handedly to maintain their social standing. She begs him to change his plans.
She tells him they feel like mere roommates.
Right, exactly. And Matthew's parting words to her right before he walks out into the snow are, "You've changed, and we've changed."
God, those words just crystallize the tragedy.
They really do.
because it's a devastating, unresolved final interaction. Shortly after leaving the house, Matthew's car spins out of control on Dover Street.
He was trying to avoid a deer, I think.
Yeah, while avoiding a deer, he flips his car and he dies.
Which leaves Hollis completely shattered. And this is where her reaction is so jarring. It's like she's trying to treat a gunshot wound with a highly aesthetic, color-coordinated Band-Aid.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Instead of falling apart, she reads an article about a 5-star weekend. It's this concept where you invite your best friend from each of the 4 distinct phases of your life.
Right, to celebrate. But she twists it.
Exactly. She decides to orchestrate this highly produced grief retreat on Nantucket. But, I mean, how does curating a luxury weekend actually process a sudden, unresolved tragedy like losing your husband mid-argument?
Well, the short answer is it doesn't. It doesn't process the tragedy at all. It just attempts to manage it.
Right, management over healing.
Hollis does what she's trained her internet audience to do. She seeks a structural solution to an emotional problem.
Like the milk bread.
Exactly like the milk bread. If you feel out of control, bake the time-intensive bread. If your husband dies and leaves you with profound, unresolved guilt, curate a weekend. She brings in 4 distinct eras of her life, thinking she can control them, like ingredients in a recipe. She wants to bake the perfect healing experience.
But human beings aren't ingredients.
No, they're absolutely not. It's a desperate grasp for agency when the universe has just proven itself to be utterly terrifying.
And the women Hollis chooses, they bring their own chaotic baggage to the island. It turns this healing retreat into an immediate pressure cooker.
Oh, absolutely.
So she casts the eras of her life. Tatum represents her teens, her childhood best friend who still lives on Nantucket.
Right.
Druanne represents her 20s. She was her college roommate from UNC, who is now a high-powered sports agent in Chicago.
Very stressful job.
Very. Brooke represents her 30s. She's this deeply insecure Wellesley mom who helped Hollis survive those first few weeks after Matthew died. And then, representing her 40s,
Gigi Ling, the absolute wild card.
a complete unknown. Gigi is literally just a woman Hollis befriended in the comments section of her food blog. They have never met in real life.
It sounds crazy when you say it out loud.
It is crazy. I have to push back on Hollis's logic here. If you are a woman obsessed with appearances, who meticulously curates her life, why on earth would you invite a random internet commenter into your intimate, vulnerable grief retreat?
It's a massive risk.
Doesn't that sound like the setup for a true crime documentary to you?
From the outside, absolutely. But, it points to a very modern sociological phenomenon.
Yep.
The power of parasocial relationships. When you have a highly curated online persona, your real-life friends like Tatum, Druanne, and Brooke, they know the messy truth.
Right. They've seen you at your worst.
Exactly. They remember your past mistakes. They expect certain behaviors from you. But an internet friend only knows the flawless version of you that you present through a screen.
Oh, I see.
Paradoxically, for someone like Hollis, it feels much safer to share profound, dark grief with a stranger who views her perfectly, rather than friends who know the cracks in her foundation. Gigi represents a clean slate.
That makes a lot of sense. She wants an audience for her grief, not necessarily an auditor. And Hollis also ropes in her daughter, Caroline. She's an NYU film student, and she's there to document the whole weekend.
So you have cameras rolling on this incredibly fragile dynamic.
Right, which is just adding fuel to the fire. And the Friday arrivals immediately shatter any illusion of control.
It starts falling apart instantly.
Instantly. Before even arriving, Tatum gets a terrifying voicemail from her doctor about biopsy results, and she can't reach them until Monday.
So she is sitting on this agonizing medical cliffhanger.
Which injects this underlying current of mortality into a weekend that's already saturated with death.
Yeah, it's just heavy.
Meanwhile, Druanne arrives entirely distracted. Her career as a sports agent is imploding in a massive PR disaster.
Right, she's losing control of her own narrative.
Exactly, which makes her super defensive. Brooke is practically vibrating with Wellesley mom anxiety, desperate to be the perfect guest, and she immediately self-medicates by drinking way too much rosé.
Naturally.
And Gigi arrives as this beautiful, polite, absolute mystery. Oh, and just to throw gasoline on the fire, Jack Finnegan happens to be on the island.
Jack Finnegan being Hollis's first love from high school.
Yes. He is visiting Tatum's husband. So the ghost of boyfriend's past is literally next door.
It's quite the setup, but Friday night actually ends on a deceptively high note.
Right. They do tequila shots.
Yeah, tequila shots and dancing in the kitchen. But that alcohol acts as a temporary patch over a very deep wound.
And when the sun comes up on Saturday,
That patch gets ripped off violently.
the physical toll of keeping up appearances is put on full display Saturday morning. Hollis wakes up at 6 a.m. with a vicious, soul-crushing hangover.
We've all been there, but she handles it differently.
Right, because she's playing the role of the ultimate hostess. She physically drags her aching body out of bed, gets in her car, and secures the highly coveted morning buns from Wicked Island Bakery.
The itinerary dictates fresh pastries, so she forces herself through the pain.
Because if the schedule fails, the grief might actually set in.
Exactly. And the itinerary next dictates a shopping trip into town, which quickly devolves into an absolute nightmare.
Oh, it really does.
It perfectly illustrates the unacknowledged class divides within this friend group.
So they head to town, and Drouin completely separates from the pack. She walks into a high-end boutique called Gypsy, casually drinks champagne at 10:30 in the morning, and drops an absurd amount of money.
On the red leather Isabel Marant motorcycle jacket.
Yes. And she totally ignores the rest of the group while doing this. Tatum, the working-class local, is furious. Why does a jacket cause such an explosive reaction?
Well, because the jacket isn't just a piece of clothing, right? It's a weapon of exclusion.
A weapon of exclusion. Wow.
It's a loud, aggressive symbol of the socioeconomic gulf between Drouin and Tatum. Drouin is using her wealth to insulate herself from her current PR panic.
Right. Retail therapy on steroids.
Exactly. While Tatum, who is currently terrified about her biopsy results and doesn't have the luxury of buying away her anxiety, sees this as Drouin's inherent elitism and selfishness.
It really highlights who has power in the dynamic and who doesn't.
Which totally sets the stage for the massive confrontation later that afternoon.
Yes, on the boat. They charter a beautiful friendship sloop called the Endeavor for a sail. You can picture it, the salty air, the gorgeous Nantucket water, and just absolute venom being spewed on the deck.
Tatum and Drouin finally go head-to-head.
They scream at each other. And we finally learn what has been poisoning their relationship for 25 years. It all traces back to 1998.
To Hollis's bachelorette party.
Right. Drouin was the maid of honor. She planned this incredibly lavish weekend at the Ritz-Carlton in Boston, full of expensive dinners and spa treatments, completely disregarding Tatum's financial reality as a young, working-class woman.
Tatum just couldn't afford it.
No. And to twist the knife, Drouin made a crass joke about Tatum having to walk last down the aisle.
Ouch.
Yeah. Now, I have to ask, holding a grudge over bachelorette party logistics for 2.5 decades?
It's a long time.
It's like keeping a carton of milk in the fridge for 25 years just to prove it went sour. Why do these specific wedding slights leave such permanent scars?
Because weddings are absolute crucibles for female friendship. Think about the last wedding you attended or were part of. You probably noticed a distinct hierarchy forming, right?
Oh, definitely. The bridesmaid ranking is real.
Exactly. The fight on that boat was never actually about the Ritz-Carlton or the cost of a massage. It was about territory.
Territory.
Yeah, it was about Tatum realizing that her childhood best friend had moved into a different socioeconomic stratosphere and feeling like she'd been fundamentally replaced by Drouin as Hollis's primary confidant.
Wow, so the party was just the symptom.
The bachelorette party was just the battlefield where that class insecurity played out. By finally yelling about it on the sloop, they lanced a 25-year-old boil.
And clearing that air actually seems to work. With the old resentments finally spoken out loud, the weekend appears to be hitting its stride.
But that's the trick of this story.
Right, because Hollis's carefully curated ingredient, the safe, blank slate internet stranger, is about to detonate the entire weekend.
The Saturday night reveal.
We get to Saturday night, and the explosive secret comes out. Gigi Ling, the sweet woman from the comments section, is not a fan. She was Matthew's mistress.
The betrayal here is staggering on multiple levels.
It is breathtakingly twisted. Think about the irony of the hospitality Hollis has extended.
It's so cringy when you look back at it.
She invited her dead husband's lover into her sanctuary. She fed her the famous food from her blog. She gave her the best guest suite in the house. Hollis even curated a specific Smart Woman playlist just for Gigi.
Oh, that makes it so much worse.
When Hollis finds out, she rightly confronts her. She calls her a liar, a cheat, a charlatan. But then Hollis does something that shocked me. She protects Gigi.
Which is wild.
Yeah. When Caroline, her film student daughter, starts asking suspicious questions, Hollis explicitly lies to cover for the mistress. Why?
Well, it's a moment of profound psychological maturity for Hollis.
Really?
Maturity. Yeah. In that instant, she realizes that the only thing worse than discovering your husband's betrayal is forcing your child to discover it.
Oh, I see.
Caroline shouldn't have to lose her pristine, heroic image of her father a second time. Hollis absorbs the entirety of that traumatic blow, so her daughter's memory of Matthew remains intact. It's incredibly selfless.
That is powerful. But let's flip the perspective for a second. If you are Gigi, what possesses you to infiltrate the life of your dead lover's wife? To sleep in her guest room and eat her food? Is it just sheer audacity, or is there a psychological mechanism driving that behavior?
It's actually driven by a concept known as disenfranchised grief.
Disenfranchised grief. Okay, break that down for us.
It's a mourning process that society dictates is invalid or unacceptable. Think about the rules of mourning, right? If you lose a husband, society brings you casseroles.
You get time off work, people send cards.
Exactly. But if you lose a married lover, society gives you nothing. Gigi could go to the funeral. She couldn't post her devastation on Facebook. She had zero outlet for her profound loss.
She was grieving in total isolation.
Right. So she sought out Hollis, because Hollis was literally the only other person on the planet mourning Matthew Madden with that exact same intensity.
Wow.
Gigi was starving for a connection to Matthew, and she found it in the woman he went home to, even though the foundation was built on an unforgivable deception.
It's incredibly dark, but, when you explain it like that, it's also deeply human. She was looking for a mirror for her own pain.
Yeah, precisely.
Now, you would think a revelation like that would completely destroy the weekend and send everyone packing, but Hilderbrand doesn't leave us wallowing in the darkness.
No, we actually get this brilliant moment of juvenile comic relief.
It totally resets the nervous system of the house. After all this emotional exhaustion, Tatum goes to her bedroom, pulls back her covers, and finds a highly realistic rubber snake in her bed.
Courtesy of Joanne, of course.
Naturally.
The long-awaited payoff to a prank war they had essentially abandoned decades ago.
And Tatum just laughs until she almost pees herself. It perfectly captures that shift from toxic, layered adult resentment back to the easy, uncomplicated humor of true friendship.
It shows that despite the brutal honesty and the betrayals, the fundamental bond between these women is resilient.
The weekend ultimately concludes with literal fireworks on the beach, which really mirrors the emotional explosions that just took place indoors.
And that brings us to the aftermath and the stark contrast between the digital world and reality.
This part is so telling. We transition back to the real world and what is happening on the internet.
The followers are waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Millions of Hollis's followers are tapping their screens, impatiently waiting for her to post her promised recipe for sour cream and roasted onion dip.
They have no idea.
They are completely, blissfully oblivious to the real-life soap opera that just unfolded over those 72 hours.
Because the internet only consumes the polished surface. They demand the comfort of the onion dick, completely unaware of the profound grief and betrayal happening behind the camera. It really highlights the absurdity of parasocial demands.
But, the weekend wasn't a total loss for content creation. Caroline, the daughter, takes all that footage she shot during this chaotic weekend and actually edits it into a documentary short.
And it turns out to be so powerful and raw that it lands her a dream job as a producer out in Los Angeles.
Incredible. And we get a very satisfying epilogue that flashes forward to see where these women end up after the dust settles.
Right, the river cruise.
Yeah. We jump ahead, and the entire cast reunites on a Viking river cruise in Italy. It's a complete shift in scenery and circumstance. Hollis is now officially dating her high school sweetheart, Jack Finnegan.
The ghost of boyfriend's past became her future.
Exactly. Joanne weathered her PR storm and is back with her fiancé, Nick. Brooke finally shed her crushing Wellesley insecurity and is happily with a new girlfriend, Trin.
And Tatum.
Tatum, whose biopsy results thankfully came back benign, is there with her husband Kyle, just deeply, profoundly celebrating being alive.
Which really leads us to the ultimate takeaway of this deep dive. Hollis orchestrated this 5-star weekend as a desperate attempt to control her grief with a perfectly curated Hallmark movie healing retreat.
And it failed spectacularly at being peaceful.
It did, but the weekend actually worked.
It really did. By completely falling apart, it did exactly what it needed to do.
Exactly. It forced a group of stagnant, grieving, and anxious women to step completely out of their routines and confront their deepest fears.
Their oldest resentments.
And their most toxic secrets. The rigid structure of the weekend acted as a crucible. The hangovers, the yelling, the explosive reveals about secret mistresses, it all acted as a catalyst, forcing every single one of them to finally move into their next chapters.
So true.
It wasn't the aesthetic healing Hollis planned, but it was the messy, vital human connection they all desperately needed.
You can't schedule healing, but you can certainly put the right volatile elements in a room and see what combusts.
That's a great way to summarize it.
Which brings me to our final thought for you, the listener. Think about the 4 stars of your own life. You know, the people who knew you best in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, and the person you are closest to today.
That's a dangerous thought experiment.
Right. If you locked those 4 distinct eras of your past in a luxury beach house for 72 hours, what buried secrets, outdated versions of yourself, and old resentments do you think would bubble to the surface?
Better bring some tequila just in case.
Good advice. Thanks for joining us. Subscribe for more bookish adventures and hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride. Don't forget to share the knowledge, spread the word.